What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So today we're gonna do a little video on the tier list for 2v2 comps for Resto Druid come 9.2. So I'm gonna try to base this off of some of the recent changes with the buffs and nerfs to Resto Druid, specifically like the Kyrian nerfs and whatnot. And then can take into consideration which classes are getting better in 9.2, and then what I'm gonna be trying to look forward to playing, and maybe give you guys some ideas what you can play. Alright, so let's get into it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe if you enjoy this video, and if you guys want to make more tier lists or something, give me some ideas. Alright, I like these. Alright, so first off, we have the Affliction Warlock. I'm just gonna go right for it there. S tier. So Affliction Warlock, if you guys watch my channel, I've been playing a lot of Warlock 2s with my Druid, and I think there's no question it's an S tier comp. It works so well with Druid being able to the part that makes Affliction Lock not as good as it could be is the lack of stuns and CC. Let's like lock targets down. So stuns, roots, slows, etc. And you as a Druid could be that for the lock. You can spam you spam roots onto targets in line. You could vortex things in line, stun, re-stealth, stun again, and just keep everything lined up for them so that they can just deal out as much damage as possible. I think this is definitely going to be an S tier comp, continued from, I think it's an S tier comp now, will be in the next patch, only getting better. All right, next up we got Arcane Mage. So Arcane Mage I am going to put at kind of in between a high A or a low S. I feel like in general I'm gonna put it as an A. Okay, so I've been playing a lot. If you guys watch my streams and videos, I do a lot of Arcane Mage 2s with numbing, and would like to give it an S tier because it kind of feels really good. But the downfall of it has been DHs. It's been a rough one. I think DHs are just gonna get better, and it's a hard comp to play. So it can be like S tier viable, or like you can make the argument, but for the most part you have to play very well to put it at that level. So for that reason I'm going to stick it with an A. Can't go wrong with Druid Mage in general, as you're going to see with the other specs as well. Druid Mage, just the synergy between clone and polymorph is just ridiculous. So I think that you're always going to be good if you're just cycling your clones and polys. You're always going to have at least some success. Arms Warrior, we're going S tier as well. This comp, I'm not like the hugest fan of it. I don't mind it. It's because typically your playstyle is a lot different when you're playing with a melee like a warrior versus the lock or a mage or a caster. Caster you usually can be a little more offensive, going for stuns, not cloning so much because you want to let your DPS do some damage. But with warrior you're usually in a more passive role, and you work on just getting clones, keeping your warrior up until he eventually kills something. So, but I think ultimately, definitely an S tier comp. I feel like in the top end, you could probably argue to put this as the very best comp. But my tier list, why I play, I'm gonna keep it below lock. I personally think lock's better at the played well, just because lock kind of beats warrior. So, from my experience at least. Okay, next, what the frick is this? Is this like the old combat rogue? Am I dumb? Is this even a spec? Okay, hold on. Is like Sub Rogue here? Oh, Sub Rogue here? I don't know. Okay, Boomy. Psh, easily the worst. Boomy, Resto Druid, unless you're like Kyrian boosting me as Necro or something, and you're like juicing me up, I think the comp is terrible. Because the only thing I think Boomy's viability in 2s comes to with a double DPS, either with a lock, a priest, a rogue, maybe a shaman. Or even feral, but it's too damp, and Boomy is just so hard to finish kills. You need like something to complement it. So easily crap tier. BM Hunter, I'm gonna put it as a this comp is very good. I'm gonna put a low. I don't think it's. I'm gonna put it A. I'm gonna put it as a high A. BM Hunter, Druid, very, very good, but I definitely think it lacks behind Survival Hunter. So I'm gonna stick it with the A. So the strength of this comp, as you guys see, BM Hunter is obviously really strong, and it's gonna continue to be strong, even stronger with the new Killshot Legendary that they're getting on combination with Craven. you just, you know, the cycling between stuns, traps, and clones, if you play it perfectly, it's very, very, very difficult to beat. So for that reason, we're going to stick with an A tier. Definitely think it's there, but I feel like you can kind of outplay those with maybe one of these two. You have more of a higher win rate. Okay, next up, Demo Lock. S tier again. Okay, Demo Lock is already very good. And now they're only getting better. And just like with the Affliction Warlock, I think this complements it very, very well. The only thing I don't like about playing with Demo compared to the other lock specs is Demo has stuns. Like uses, like, you know, they have X toss, potentially 2 X toss stuns. And it kind of, you have to make sure you're really, you know, on par, not overlapping CCs and whatnot, because it's like X toss is like kind of like a crappy stun. It's a shorter duration. But I do think this has a lot of potential, especially maybe dabbling with Kyrian. We'll see. I know the Kyrian just got nerfed, but I'm still going to try it and see how it goes. Having that extra versatility for your teammate on his burst windows, and, you know, apparently, allegedly people are hitting 100k demon bolts on the PTR, so I think regardless of comp, Demo Lock's just going to be in this tier class in 2s, just because of how tanky it is, how much CC it has, and how much burst it has. Okay, next up we got Destro Warlock. S tier again, all Warlocks. I personally think Warlock Druid is just ridiculously good. So when it comes to the ordering of these, I'm gonna low-key put, I'm actually gonna switch these. I'm gonna say, I actually want to like question doing a Demo as S. I feel like the Destro and Affliction versions definitely feel a lot better, but I'm gonna leave it because I think Demo Lock itself is just gonna be so freaking strong that it doesn't really matter the comp synergy at that point. But so for Destro Lock, I've been playing a lot of recently with a buddy of mine. He plays Night Fae, and I've been Kyrian boosting him, so he gets like the mega haste, and it's like BFA throwback. I was very surprised at how successful you can be with this, but I think in the same boat as like the Arcane Mage comp, you do have to have a good Destro Lock. You know, he's really kiting well, getting off his double coils, and, you know, CCing, peeling, Infernal. You're just basically playing very well. It's a lot less forgiving. Like Affliction Lock, I think, is a lot more forgiving because you can it's pretty easy to keep up your dots. So, and same with Demo. Demo is not too difficult when it comes to dealing damage, but Destro, I think you got to be a little bit better with your positioning and your, you know, your timing on stuff. You got to be able to juke kicks, get those bolts off. So I'm still gonna keep it as an S tier. I think just the synergy between the stuns and everything is just, you can't beat it. Next up we got Ele Shaman. I'm gonna put Ele Shaman as a B tier. Ele Shaman Druid was actually a very, very good comp in BFA, and don't think it's that bad anymore, honestly. The problem is the meta doesn't favor Ele Shaman. A lot of things beat the crap out of Ele Shaman. Rogue Mage, any rogue team just kicks Ele Shaman's butt. DHs kick their butt. Ferals kick their butt. Like, it's meta classes and 2s just really beat up on Ele Shaman. I think that for that reason, I'm gonna pick it as a B tier. It does have a lot of good strengths, cycling between Hex, you know, Lasso, and you know, typically when I play this comp, you would like you would stun. He would the Ele Shaman can pop all his cooldowns, his Stormkeeper, his whatever he's doing. And then he lassos into Stormkeeper and pops up on that guy at the same time the Druid goes stuns clones. And then if you swap clone back, in that comp you do want to be using clone a lot. That's one of the comps that you definitely want to be cloning, similar to like kind of how you play with Mage. And just, you know, constantly getting setouts and whatnot. But it's got, I think the weaknesses outperform or like there's more weaknesses than strengths in that comp, so I'm gonna keep it as a B. Enhancement Shaman, Garbanzo. I'm gonna go with Garbanzo tier. Don't think there's any synergies at all. The only way this comp could be good is if Enhanced Shaman is just really good. The meta doesn't favor enhancement. I think if you're going to play enhancement in 2s, you're going to want to play with like a Feral or a Ret or a Hunter, maybe something just hybrid based. I mean, maybe you can find some success with it, but I think it would be extremely damp for one, and it'd be very difficult to beat a lot of specs because a lot of specs just do what Enhanced does, but better. Feral, I'm going to put as a tier, a low A tier. I think Feral Resto is very, very good. You know, you can, the mobility, the healing, just Feral is just an amazing 2s class right now in general and going to be in the next patch. So for that reason, I think it's just definitely A-worthy. The lacking part of it, why I say I wouldn't put it as an S tier, is the CC potential. You have a lot more CC potential with other classes, like with Lock, you have, you know, You have your fears and your coil and whatever you got, and I think that's the only lacking part is you have the DR clones and the DR stuns with your druid as a druid. So I think damage wise and survivability can be very, very good, but I don't think it's at the same point as these other specs. Next up, we got Fire Mage. I'm gonna put Fire Mage at C. Fire Mage, I personally don't like playing with at all. Some Fire Mages specifically that know how I play, I think it's okay, but I feel like in general, Fire Mages, first off, 90% of Fire Mages don't know how to play with the healer. 99% we're gonna go with. They all know how to play Rogue Mage, and that's all they know how to play at twos. So it's very hard to first off find a mage that knows what to do in a healer DPS scenario. And secondly, you DB, like you have to like engrave in your Fire Mage's head that you stop using DB so much. It's good for like emergency scenarios, but you're just DRing clones, whether it's on the kill target or the healer, because one of the big strengths of Mage Druid is being able to swap clones and polys. So like, for example, in the open air, you triple poly the healer, and then you DPS the kill target, and then the Druid goes in triple clones or whatever, and then once those clones are done, you swap the clone to the kill target, and you triple clone him, and then he's back on poly, he's back off poly DR, and you can poly again, and you can just keep cycling that. But with DB, you're going to be DRing stun or clones all over the place. So I think it has potential just because it's Mage Druid, but I think it's going to be very difficult for you to find a good Fire Mage that's good at that comp, because I personally had very hard experience finding that. Okay, next up we got Frost Mage. I'm gonna put it at a high B tier, or maybe you can make the argument. I'm gonna go low A tier. Low A tier. Okay, so I think Frost. Actually, I had this one Q session the other day actually with a Frost Mage playing. I was playing Kyrian again, but I think you could even make it work with Convoke. I didn't have Convoke on my Horde Druid, so I couldn't do it. But it works in the same boat as Arcane, where you're just swapping stuns and polys. I think Arcane definitely has an edge over Frost because of the ability to chase and be mobile and have more like one-shot burst without having to sit there and cast, and like especially relying on the Necro Xaylee. But you have your CC, you have your polys, you have very good survivability, and you actually counter a lot of the meta classes, because a lot of classes are melee, right? And one concern I do have for all these casters, especially mages, is Death Knights. I think Death Knights are going to literally shred in twos against casters because of all the buffs they have on top of like all the the caster survivability they have, the magic survivability, the AMS, AMZ, the spell warding. I think it's going to be a lot of trouble, but I think still Locke's in a better spot than Mage, because Mage, you have to get it set up and then go. But like if the DK is just smart, first of all, you can run Dark Sim and steal all of your he can steal your polys and clones and like crush you. And secondly, they have every time you get a poly on the healer, he can just trade AMS, trade AMZ, just spam Death Strike. It's gonna be tough. We'll see how it goes, but I think that it's gonna make it a little bit harder for these melee comps, and it might favor like the Hunter more, and the Warrior more, and the Pharaoh more, and the other ones. Next up we got Fury Warrior. I'm gonna put Fury Warrior as a C tier. I mean, if your Warrior could do damage, it's still a Warrior. So I think there is potential. I don't think it's anywhere close to as good as Arms Warrior could be, but you never know. Any class that can do a lot of damage, we'll see how it performs in the next patch, can be viable. Demon Hunter. I'm gonna put Demon Hunter. I'm gonna put it behind Feral. Actually, I'm gonna put it above Feral. Okay, so I think. All right, I'm going here. Okay, so I think Demon Hunter A tier for sure. I mean, some may argue S tier, but I do think the synergy between these classes and BM Hunter is definitely still superior than DH. The reason DH R Druid is so good is because DHs do a lot of damage. That's about it. And they're very mobile. They can keep up. They can train healers well. The flaw of it is if their damage isn't there, it is what it is, or the player knows how to counter DH as well, playing around the I-beams and whatnot. It could spell trouble for you, and I think a lot of other comps can crush it. Like playing with a Lock, I've been playing a lot with Destro and Affliction. You could really punish a DH's mobility. Like, it's a pro to have being super mobile, but you could also drag him into bad spots, convoke him, or get stunned behind a corner and just punish him. So there definitely is a lot of potential and outplay potential in these comps. That's why I have them as S tier. But I do think DH is just going to be very good. It got stronger in 9-2. It's still going to be a very, very, very good comp. Next up, we got Marksman Hunter. Marksman Hunter. I'm going to keep it as a low A. So, same boat as BM Hunter. That you have traps and stuns to rotate through. I think the downside of it is you don't have that stun. You don't have that intimidation. That's like, I think that's what gives the edge to BM and survival over Marksman. But you are a Hunter. Hunter damage is really high, especially with the being able to take double Legos now, and they can actually run an offensive Lego on top of Craven. I think that's going to be a very crucial role for them, and they're going to be really pumping with it. But like I said, I think that the flaw of it is just the reliability on getting traps. Your Druid has to be really on top of the stuns, which you can do, and that's why it's still an A tier. But your Druid really has to be on top of the stuns and setting up for the traps. Next up, Outlaw Rogue. I want to put Outlaw Rogue probably ahead of that. Yeah, I think there are some potentials with. I mean, it's a Rogue. You have Kidney Shot, so Rogue Druid in general can work with any spec if you're just on top of the. I think when I played an Outlaw Rogue, it would be like it would gouge the healer and then kidney the kill target, and then I would clone off the gouge and then triple clone, then swap, and then do it again. And I think you can really get a lot of things working with that, with the gouge, especially gouge, and make it work. So I think for that reason, it could, probably a C tier, but I don't think it has the potential of outperforming any of these comps at all. Retribution Paladin, personally, not a big fan of Ret, but I have still yet. I feel like I talked about this in like all of my tier list videos that I've ever made. I think the potential in the comp is very, very good. But you have to play it differently. You play it like you're playing Mage Druid. So you use Repentance as it's a polymorph or a trap, and you're using your Hodge into rep, and then the Druid stuns a kill target. And then after the rep, you rotate clone, go to the kill target, clone, and then by that time he's off rep DR again, rep him again, do it again, and by the time if you can nail that CC down, they're not going to have enough trinkets for all these Ret bursts. So, and I think Ret's going to be very strong as a class in general. So I think it's gonna be good. I'm gonna put it above Ele Shaman. I think so. No, I like Ele Shaman. Okay, next up, Shadow Priest. I think Shadow Priest is gonna be a B tier. Potential for this comp very good, but honestly, after these recent nerfs this week or yesterday, I think at this point they nerfed the Necro Lego by 40% damage, which is pretty large. I think it's going to definitely take a hit on them, and Shadow Priests are generally, even though the synergy might be good between Stun Silence and, Mind Games and whatever you're running with it, again, similar to Ele Shaman, your flaw is you're not good your class is not good 1v1 into the meta. Shadow Priests get eaten up by Hunters and DHs and Warriors and Ferals, and I think that takes a big toll on how they can perform in the Two's comp. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with B. It definitely still has a lot of potential. You just gotta play it very well and make sure you're trading very efficiently with Fade and Dispersion. But the damage could be there for sure. All right, next up we got DK. I'm gonna put DK. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, I'm gonna put Frost DK Druid as a B tier. I think DK is gonna be better off with the Shaman at this stage, just because of the Earth Ellie on top of all this burst, Sky Fury for their goes. I think it's gonna complement them a bit better than the Druid, or even Holy Priest at this point. Who knows? With all these buffs, but I think Frost DK is in a very, very good spot with all these buffs coming up. So definitely think that's going to be a good one to pick up. But I don't think it's going to be as good as some of these other comps that you have, just because DKs can't heal for you well. Like, they can change ice, they can grip, but then they're going to lose their offensive pressure. And like classes like a Warrior, for example, they can supply a lot more damage onto your Druid, and sometimes you just can't peel. If you're the Druid and you get in trouble, your DK can't help you. A lot of these other classes can complement. Ele Shaman can heal, or Hex. Shadow Priest can heal. Reds can heal. They can bop. Mages can poly. You can clone. You can kind of do a lot of things to help peel for you, but DKs can't do that. That's the biggest flaw of that comp. I think damage-wise, you could definitely make it work, but the flaw of it not being able to, and I put it above like these classes specifically because of the damage buffs. They're gonna think it would be really high with the A-bomb limb. Okay, next up we got Sub Rogue. Sub Rogue, I think I'm gonna put at a low A tier. So typically, Oh, is this supposed to be assassination? That's what this is supposed to be. Okay, so Sub Rogue, I'm gonna put it at a low A tier. I think the damage is very high. Typically, in the past, I thought Sub Rogue Archers sucked because the Sub Rogue generally would have a lot of CC, not a lot of damage. So they, weren't able to finish off kills. So that was the biggest flaw they had. But they always have, cheap shot, kidney shot. So when I've been playing this recently, it's been working out very well. It's just that you kidney shot the healer, cheap shot the triple cheap shot the kill target, and then the druid clones off the kidney, and then rinse and repeat, swap the clone after that. And just like I was talking about with the Outlaw Rogue, but the Sub Rogue just has a lot of damage to put in those burst windows. And I think that's definitely a very plus. I think Sub Rogue is just a phenomenal 2 spec right now. Survival Hunter, definitely S tier. I'm actually gonna put it as the number 1 spec, man. I think the potential in Survival Hunter Druid is just insane. The damage buffs that they're getting double Legos now, the tier set, with the bombs and whatnot, it's just gonna be insane. And for some reason, I can't even tell you why, but I find Survival Hunter the absolute hardest DPS to heal into. And it's, between the MS pet, the consistent damage, some of the people play, it's just all around amazing. You have almost guaranteed traps with Harpoon. You have great survivability. You have the Craven. You have Mending Bandage. You have basically anything in a 2 and Steel Trap to verse any of these melee teams. I think it's the best comp in the game for Resto Druid. So if you are looking for what's the best, I think Survival Hunter is definitely going to be your pick. Next up, we got Unholy DK. I'm gonna put this as a lower B tier. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in the same spot. These are kind of interchangeable. I think DK is just going to be very strong offense, a lot of damage. But you know what? I think the potential is higher than the Frost, just because the a really good Unholy DK that knows how to get good pet kicks and dark sims and uses all their things wisely. I think you can really outplay other teams, unlike Frost DK, which you're kind of limited to just those big goes and just hopefully I overwhelm them and they just die. You could do a little more outplay potential with Unholy, so I'm going to keep that a little higher. But same explanation I have with Frost DK. It's going to do a lot of damage, but it lacks peels, it lacks CC chains. You're really just a damage bot, but you are going to be good at the caster, so we'll see if it becomes a caster meta, and then that's going to make DK even better. Windwalker, I put it as a... I'm going to put it as a low A tier as well. I think Windwalker is very good. I do think the lacking part of Windwalker, it does do a crap ton of damage, which is obviously really, really good. But the lacking of it is CC. You don't have these crazy CT chains. You can paralysis the clone into leg sweep, stuff like that. But you are lacking in, I think, a lot. And Windwalkers they're a pretty squishy class. I think I could have had this at a higher tier if Kyrian wasn't nerfed as much as it just was. So, because that made Windwalker burst just ridiculous. So, I think for that reason, I'm going to keep it as an A tier just because Windwalkers are strong. And a good Windwalker that knows how to kite well, it's just going to still do fine. But I think you're going to have better potential in some of these other comps if played well. And last but not least, this is a Assassination Rogue, I guess. I'm going to put that as a high B tier. I don't think it's on the same level as Sub, but the damage is really high. If that Shiv tier set thing stays the same, maybe it's even higher. But you're lacking in that, again, lacking in the CC component. You do have Kidney, which is amazing, but you don't have the cheap shot or the gouge that sets up clones to make that comp work a little bit better. But if the damage is that high, who the F cares? If you're doing a lot of damage, you win games. That's kind of how the game's been, right? So yeah. All right. So if you guys have any questions or you have any different opinions, let me know in the comments, and hope you see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.